The following announcement has been paid for by Wild Games Productions.
And we're back. Roll for Initiative Podcast. We are in Volume 5, and this is going to be a special insert, the last show of the year.
Yay!
I'm sitting here with Nick.
Hello.
And everybody remembers Sal.
Who?
Yeah.
You!
Oh, me! I am here.
Yeah, so most people probably say
I'm me.
Sal who? So yeah, we're back with our last show of the year, a special insert. We're doing a special show this week in celebration of the Star Wars movie coming out, but we'll get more
Yes.
into that shortly.
Celebration like Life Day?
Yes,
Oh.
this is your life day.
God.
This
You
is
have to bring that up.
Yeah. So, Sal, you've been gone the longest out of all of us. What have you been doing?
Well, I've been doing a lot of stuff with, actually, I have been prepping for an upcoming D&D game.
Oh,
Actually, it's Labyrinth Lord stuff.
Oh, cool.
nice.
And it's an amalgamation, basically, of Labyrinth Lord and Sword and Wizardry. It's just taking bits and pieces of stuff, and I'm putting it together, a lot of house rules, but I've been making a lot of props for the game.
All right.
Yeah, I got a
DM
lot of...
Scotty.
actually, I made the Wand of Orcus.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see you've been commenting on DM Scotty a lot lately, so I figured you were building his
Yeah.
stuff.
That must have been a heck
Yeah.
of a project.
Actually, it's been pretty easy. Yeah, it's like the stuff that I make. It's come out pretty good. I've taken a couple pictures, but I don't want to show it because I know one of the
How did
little
Orcus
silver-
feel about it, though?
Well, it's not his, so he didn't mind.
Okay, good.
It's a replica. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So yeah, the one of the people that are in actually the DM Scotty group is one of the players that's going to be playing. So I haven't been showing too much, but I've been working on that. I actually found an old adventure I had wrote when I was a senior in high school,
Oh, boy.
Wow.
and it was terrible. Oh, it was horrible. It was absolutely.
So you're going to
atrocious.
run it as is.
I want to desperately, but it's really bad. So I took it and I started tweaking it, and it's worked out a lot better. Things that I've gotten over the years have added to it and made it better and made things make sense. It was almost a Gygaxian dungeon of,
Death?
hey, there's a unicorn in this room. Why is there a unicorn in that room? It doesn't matter. There's a unicorn in this
Doesn't
room.
matter. Sounds like
And
Castle
there are four,
Greyhawk.
right, and right next to it there are 4 orcs who are sharpening their weapons.
Who didn't think to
Oh.
kill the unicorn?
Yeah, nothing made sense. It was all stuff put together, but that's what
Sounds
I've
like
been
a scene
working
out of the movie Legend.
Ugh.
on. Pretty much, except no Tim Curry.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
Well, gosh, been doing our last Star Wars campaign with my friend Jeff, and yeah, just got off fresh of that last night. We got all for our Christmas gifts from Jeff. Everybody got a hardbound printed version of the revised, expanded, updated rules of the Star Wars role-playing game, which is amazing.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really sharp. Everything, it's black and white inside, but it's a color cover, but it's excellent. Love it.
what an awesome DM!
Yeah, just great. He's been doing a great job. We ended on a cliffhanger here with our game last night, where eventuality is coming around to where our one Jedi in the group, who has been through a couple personal trials, like running into some Inquisitors and facing them down and defeating them, not necessarily killing them, taking a limb or here or there, because he is a Jedi. He's not a Sith, not yet. Anyway, went to a planet where how the whole plot ties in. Basically, he's going to be ended with him facing down Darth Maul and then Curtain. So he's got to face down Darth Maul. Yeah. should be interesting. So, and we're starting to build our little rebel fleet here. So we're, because the timeline, I think I said in the past, is like, it's basically the timeline of Star Wars Rebels between episodes 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
So the rebellion is not even really organized yet. We're kind of starting the organization of it all right now. We're all trying to link all these other groups together. So we don't even have a cohesive command structure yet. So it's very much in its very beginning stages, which is very cool. I really enjoy that. So that's kind of there's definitely a sense of tension to the whole campaign so far. So really loving it.
Yeah, I noticed that Star Wars is really getting into that whole, let's do everything more closer to the original movies that came out than anything that LucasArts did. That was everything. LucasArts focused on everything on Clone Wars and that,
which is fine.
Which is good. I like that era, and most people did too. They were fine with it. Some people didn't. They really hated it. But I know Disney's like, we're just going to do it in this era because Lucas did it that era and shoved it down everybody's throats. So let's shove this down their throats. Wow.
I got a feeling though that it's sounding like, because now we're talking about the new movie of The Force Awakens and hits the snooze button and goes back to sleep for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But running gag joke online. But with the new movie, it sounds like what Disney / Lucasfilm are doing is they pretty much got everything wide open. It could be anywhere from the Clone Wars. There's people saying, could there be some stuff later on from the Old Republic era that we might see? I mean, who knows? You got a huge, long history, literally thousands of years open to you.
Well,
so
Disney's going to take advantage of it. Trust me.
I mean, if anybody's been following the news on this, what they're going to be doing, there's going to be a Star Wars film every year for perpetuality until they don't make money on them anymore.
Wait, there's a new Star Wars movie coming out?
Yeah, did you not know? Oh, yeah. The little movie's coming out in just a few days.
Check that out.
Yeah. So, really jazzed about that. There's going to be the anthologies film. There's going to be Rogue One, which I love the premise behind. How they took it from that first paragraph of the Scroll of A New Hope. It's like, well, how the hell did they get those plans? And who was that first group? So that's going to be very cool. There's going to be a Boba Fett anthology film, Han Solo anthology film.
Are they referencing
Boba Fett? Where?
Yeah. Where?
Are
Boba Fett.
Are they
Boba Fett.
referencing the books for these movies, or are they just on the whim making these up?
I don't know.
I
don't
heard
know.
that they weren't using expanded universe for canon anymore.
That's correct.
But George Lucas said, Disney, do what you're going to do. It's cool.
Well, it's kind of in that respect. Now, Kathleen Kennedy did say, doesn't mean they can't, pick and choose things out of the old EU, which is now called the Legends line.
Right.
It's rebranded as Legends, but it doesn't mean they can't pick and choose elements out of their storylines, people, and put it into what would be quote unquote considered canon.
They got a Legends contract. Okay.
So, I mean, and I think it would be remiss of them not to maybe pick ideas or characters and stuff from the old EU. I think that would be a good help, and then incorporate it into a whole new story. Who knows? I mean, I think it's a pretty exciting thing that it's coming, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan from way back, as much as you guys are. I was 6 years old when I saw the first film. Changed my freaking life. So
what Star Wars?
Well,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, the one in '77.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That.
Oh,
one.
yeah, with what's his name, McCoy and Spock.
Yes, Kirk.
Yes. Yeah. Wrong.
Oh.
Anyway. Wrong. Anyway, so we should probably actually get into what we're going to be talking about, today?
Yeah, sure. We'll jump right into that. Quickly, I've been doing my actual play podcast. That stuff, I know people have been asking where the hell it is.
Yes, there you go.
It is, I deleted it all. I'm sorry. I can't bring it out. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
No. That'll be coming out in 2016. Got to take the time to do some heavy editing on it all, and I got up to, I think I have 6 players now total.
Cool.
So
perfect size. 6 players is like perfect.
And we're playing Menser D&D, Sal, so you should kind of like that.
That'd be fun.
You're a Labyrinth Lord player, so.
I'm a what?
A Labyrinth Lord player, so.
Oh, yeah.
You're an LL player, so you should kind of like Menser.
Indeed.
Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna jump right into things. We're gonna talk a
Right
little
into the
bit.
Starlight Pit.
Yeah, there you go.
Talk about the original West End Games Star Wars 1987 first edition role playing game that came out way back in the day that we all loved. I know people have been asking us over and over to do a review of this.
And
So
now we have the opportunity.
We figured with the movie coming out and we only have one more show of the year, we'll just do it for this.
Yeah, why not? So yeah, like Vince said, this is over when the first initial release of the Star Wars role playing game by West End Games, and to kind of give a background for everybody, it came out in 1987, right?
Right.
4 years after what we all thought was the last film. And there really wasn't much material relating to the Star Wars universe at that time. It was like the 3 films and all the other stuff associated with them that came out, right?
And books weren't acknowledged by it.
And there might have been a couple of books, you know, you had that Han Solo series that was out during the time, the stuff with Lando. Yeah, Han Solo Stars End. There was that, and some of the other books. But there was nothing really that kind of give you a real in-depth view of the Star Wars galaxy. And I'm far as I know, I think the role-playing game when it came out in 87 really kind of paved the way towards what would become the EU, the expanded universe. Because once it was just like a meat and potatoes information fest of everything about vehicles and the characters and the weapons and everything. That was one of the cool things about it. So I think it kind of, in its way, kind of paved the way towards what would be becoming the expanded universe. But just to kind of go with the basics of the game, like I said, D6 Star Wars. So it was based off the D6 system by West End Games, which had its beginnings with the Ghostbusters role-playing game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know I enjoyed, which is really fun. I liked it that it was only relying on one die, D6, and I'll get into how that all ties into the role playing game, the Star Wars role playing game here. But the book is really nicely laid out. In fact, that was probably one of the things that attracted everybody to the game is the artwork and the layout of it is
okay. Hang on, I want to jump in on you for a sec, Nick.
Yeah.
Now, you said you liked the artwork.
Yeah, the artwork and the layout of the book I thought was very good.
Okay, layout of the book is that's out of my range of things, but the artwork, I thought some of the alien artwork, like you look back at it now, and it's like wow.
Yeah.
Like some of it was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, in the original
things that were not from the movie. Okay, because when you got names for things in the movie, like when you found out that Walrus Man, who you had the figure for because everybody had the figure, Walrus Man wasn't a walrus; he was some sort of amphibious spider.
Okay. And
you're like, yeah, but like that came from, he was like, what's Aquanids or something.
Yeah.
But when you see that in the book, you're like, okay, great. You know who he is. You know what that is. Okay, great. Or you see, okay, you know what a Wampa is. Terrific. You know what these things are. They have names, but then they would start adding on alien races, and they would just, give an elongated forehead or add an extra set of eyes, and it was like, this is terrible. Like who's doing this? Why are you letting them do this?
Well, they did on the initial book. They kept pretty close to, from what I understand, they worked closely with Lucasfilm on this. So they tried, at least on the initial role-playing book itself, when that came out, they kept with what they had as far as information from George Lucas and tried to put game mechanics to it. So...
Yes, everything was heavily worked on with Lucas Studios.
Yeah,
excuse me.
Far as I know, and you'll even see it in some of the later books that I'll mention later on. Some of the artwork is also goes back to the original Ralph McQuarrie concept art for the movies when he was working on it. So, but
no, I'm not talking about the original book, honestly. I'm talking about like just I guess some of the other books that I've seen from the old West End days.
Yeah,
I guess it would just I don't know. It was lacking for what the game has, is and what it represents.
All right. Well, most of the West End artwork back then sucked. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, they didn't put money into artwork. They just put money into buying stuff and doing it. That's all they did.
Right. And that's like and that's like you're talking probably some like the Galaxy guidebooks.
Yeah.
And stuff
Even
like that.
even the later stuff.
I'm just looking at the initial the original rule book itself.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So, and that the initial rule book itself, how it's not mostly the pictures are mostly from the films, and there are some really nice color plates in here.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is like the advertisement to join the Imperial Navy.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of brings you in. That's how they're starting to bring into the whole Star Wars experience. It's like there's a color plate on the Incom's T-65 X-wing fighter and how that is. The Galaxy Tours thing about industrial automation droids, the R2 units. Talking about those. So it kind of brings you into that. But that's why it was a big seller, at least for me, is one of the things I enjoyed. But getting into the layout in the book and how it's broken up, you have a player section, you have a game master's section, and then you have what's essentially the appendices of the book. And the player section's very basic. They talk about how to create a character, what type of dice you use, what the dice codes mean in the game, to explain attributes and skills, and how when you create a character and it's created from what they have character templates. And so if you want to basically like a character class, essentially. So if you want to play a smuggler or a young senatorial or a young Jedi or one of my favorites, the Quixotic Jedi.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorites. The crazy old man who thinks he's a Jedi. And he's tilting windmills with his lightsaber.
So I'm just wondering one thing, Nick, and it's a burning question on my mind about this book.
Yes.
Will the Hamilton Collection honor the Han Solo plate in the back?
That's funny. And you must have, you know what? I got that copy too.
And I'm just wondering, because I wouldn't mind
referencing is
I wouldn't mind having that, to be honest. Will they honor it if I send it in?
I would love to have that too, because that still shows that Han shot first.
Yeah.
And I still believe that. What Vince is referencing, everybody out there, if you don't have the original book, in the very back there is a coupon that you can clip out to send to the Hamilton Collection and make all of the collector's plates back in the day. And they might still do it. You can get a collector's plate of Han Solo for $29.50 plus $2.14 of shipping. I don't know if they would actually honor that now, since we're talking almost 30 years after the fact.
But it's a coupon.
I have a feeling there's an old man sitting in a warehouse.
Yeah.
With a stack of these things?
And with a stack left going, any day I'm going to get more. And he's waiting.
He's going to pack them up.
I mean, it doesn't say it's a limited time. It doesn't say there's an expiration date on it. So honestly,
limit 2 plates to collector.
Yeah,
let's do this.
There's no
let's
expiration date on it, actually. So, I mean, there's nothing stopping me from sending this in saying, dude, you owe me.
I want my God. You know what? You'll probably get on the news somehow. It'll turn into an internet thing.
Give him his
Lucas
plate.
will show up at your house and break the plate over your head.
And then, can I punch him in the face for Jar Jar?
Why not?
Actually, Jar Jar will deliver the plate.
Oh, dear God.
Yes, I have plate for use.
All right, we're getting off track. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There we are. Anyway, character templates,
But I wanted
not
to know.
plates.
Oh, okay.
Basically, our character classes. And they, like I said, they explain the die codes. It's all D6 stuff. They explain the die codes, how they work, the difference between attributes and skills. Your attributes are, your strength, knowledge, dexterity, perception, mechanical, and technical. Those are your base core
And, yeah.
like be like equivalent to strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, blah blah blah, so on in D&D terms, and you have skills associated with that.
And we'll get how that relate and how it works in the game in a couple seconds here.
Yeah, and then in the player section, just the quick start, basically how when you're creating a character and a group of you are playing, how all your stories connect, how they all connect. So that's like the first chapter in just a matter of like 4 or 5 pages right there.
Yeah.
Then you have your then they go in the second chapter about the bare bones of the rules. They talk about opposing roles, how that works. So if you're maybe having I don't want to say a lightsaber duel. There's a whole different thing doing with lightsabers, but say you were having, I don't know, a
pistol fight?
An arm wrestling match.
Yeah, you're having a brawl in the bar.
Yeah, you're having an arm wrestling match with a Gamorrean in a bar. So you would do an opposing roll. Whoever got the highest roll of their strength would win that result. You also have what are known as difficulty numbers. Basically, the game master, based off of a range of difficulties, comes up with a difficulty number. You roll the number of D-sided dice.
You all right there, Sal?
Okay.
What's that?
Wasn't sure
Nothing.
if
I'm
Sal fell
good.
or something, or I don't know.
No, I'm good.
Well, I know this whole section here, for a lot of players who are not used to the D6 role-playing system,
Yeah.
it might come off as a little confusing. It might come off as maybe a little difficult. Not saying people are stupid, because no one is stupid. It just, you might look at it and go, meh, this is a pain in the butt, or meh, I'm not interested in this. You can always go, and I found in the last 5 or 6 years that you can go download something called Mini 6. It's by Anti-Paladin Games. And it's a supplement you can insert into any D6 role-playing game, like Star Wars, for example, that allows you to give you static numbers. So you can have your D&D armor class that you're used to. So
Sure.
you don't have to sit there and roll 6 dice, and then the other person rolls 6 dice. You just, okay, I got to beat that number, done. That's it.
You can do it.
What's
Yeah.
it called, Vin?
Mini 6. I'll put a link to it in the
Mini
show
6.
notes, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so you can, there's a modification to that, like Vince said, that you can have like static numbers for your attributes, and then you'll probably modify that for any skills that you have. But in the initial game, it's just a number of dice that are associated with like your attribute. For example, perception. Maybe you have 3D associated with your perception attribute. So you would roll 3 dice every time in accordance with a difficulty number that your GM has in mind, for example. So then that difficulty number could be what, let's say it was they have a range from very easy to very difficult. And let's say it was like maybe an easy task. So maybe you had to get a 12. You roll your dice. If you make that number or higher, you succeed. It's simple as that. So they talk about the difficulty numbers, and again, in the combat, they talk about how initiative works, and how initiative works, movement, how shooting works, how to do dodges, grenades, and hand-to-hand. And this is all based off of a D6 die roll and associated abilities or attributes, or skills or attributes.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about different type of dice. It's all D6 driven here. So they get in a little on the basics on combat, how you do all those things, and this is in the player section. Then they go on to talking about skill points and what skill points are, and they term later to call them character points. It's the same thing. Skill points are basically the equivalent of experience points that you accumulate after an adventure, but you use these to increase skills that you have. For example, let's say you were on an adventure, and at the end of that game session, the game master awards everybody 7 skill points. So you write that down, and you can split those skill points up amongst any of your skills to have to increase them. Say you wanted to improve your blaster skill. It's at 3 dice plus 1. That means you would roll 3 dice and add 1 to it. To increase that skill, you would have to spend 3 character points to increase it by another +1 to 3 dice +2. Make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, but
Yeah, then that's how it does. Now increase it to and it goes in increments of every die. To increase every skill, it goes from +1, +2, and then it goes to the next die.
yeah, it's not a level-based game. It's all based on skills and attributes.
Right.
So,
Say, for example, like I said, your blaster skill was at 3 dice +1. You use those skill points to increase it to 3 dice +2. And then if you want to increase it to 4 dice, you would have to spend
another 4.
It'd actually be 6 skill points to increase it to 4D, to 4 dice.
Oh, would it be? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, because it accumulates. So you would go from 3 dice to 6 dice for up to the second, and to get to the third one, or get to 4 dice, you would have to spend 6 skill points. So your blaster skill would be at 4 dice. The next time you get skill points, you want to increase it to 4 dice +1. It would have to be 4 skill points. So you're going to need more skill points the more dice that you have associated with that skill.
Okay.
So
move on.
That's how it's
confused
incremental,
everybody. So just move on.
Okay. Anyway, so that's skill points.
If they haven't played the D6 game yet, F them.
Okay. Then they talk a little bit about the force, and there's also force points and how they're used. And this is really important in the game. You could have characters that are like Jedi that are force sensitive, and some that maybe are not. But every character starts with 1 force point. You can use that force point basically as a way of, I guess, getting out of a sticky situation. And what you do is use that 1 force point in that round of like combat or just rolling a skill to succeed in, whatever it may be. But when you use a force point, it doubles all your skills and attributes in that round. So if you had, like, your blaster skill was at 4 dice and you spend a force point that, like, I really want to hit this guy in the head, you burn that force point and your skill goes up to 8 dice. So that's how you can use force points, but you have to be careful using force points and how you use them in what situations, particularly if you're a Jedi, because you could fall to the dark side.
You could.
So they also talk about, along with that, with the force points, talk about force powers, how lightsabers are used. And they have a special section on lightsabers because it is a special melee weapon. And unlike other weapons and other melee weapons, the lightsaber skill is actually a skill it's a force control skill. And I'll get into how the force is broken up into 3 different, basically, parts. You have control skills, sense, and alter skills if you're a force user, like a Jedi. And the lightsaber skill is under the control skill.
And
you don't use strength for it.
It's funny because they use this control sense alter, and I think they added one more on later on, for like 10, 15 years, and then Wizards of the Coast came in and just went...
And dropped it, yeah.
Nah, we're just going to make them all one now in the Saga edition, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. So basically the force powers are broken down into what are known as the 3 different sections: control, sense, and alter. Control would be like, these aren't the droids you're looking for. Sense would be like you're feeling a disturbance in the force, and alter, I guess, would be like, I guess what force skill would be used for alter? I guess maybe force lightning. I don't know, but
Not really wrong.
Die!
yes, you must die. Yeah,
Limited power.
Now, one thing I always thought that Star Wars could have used more of are,
Death?
and I don't know if you guys are purists, different force weapons.
Oh, I agree.
Oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
have you guys ever seen like those fair girls or chicks from like Burning Man who swing the flaming poi?
Yeah.
Those things on chains. Now imagine that as a force weapon. That would be so badass.
Now they do expand on that later on. They do on different type of force weapons. Now I'll get into that later. But in the basic book, it's really just lightsabers. But you have control, which is how you control the force in your own body. Sense is how you can feel the ebb and flow of the force, and alter is how you can move objects with your mind. And there are some other sub-skills associated with those things. But so that's just, they give you a little bit about the force, how those things are worked. There's a solo adventure that you can do. Then you get into the Game Master section, which is
The Han Solo adventure?
Yes, the Han Solo adventure. You could almost call it that. I love how the Game Master section starts. It has a picture of Emperor Palpatine. I think that's a good start in the book. So they get into the Game Master section, and I like the beginning of this thing because in the intro on GMing on the Game Master section, they tell you how you can maybe set the tone of a Star Wars game. And the two things I really got out of this section is there's a suspension of disbelief and just relax and have fun. That's the thing about it, because you know how it is with Star Wars. You know, if you try to apply science to it, you can't. You just can't do it.
No.
So, and you just got to.
That was one of the things that I always loved about Star Wars.
Right.
They didn't try to explain anything.
Yeah.
Once you got into midichlorians and this, this is why this works. I don't care how it works.
Right.
It's awesome that it works. Done. Let's call it a day.
And that was one of the things about it. It's like, you know, I like the idea of, like, for example, you said about, you know, the Force and midichlorians. I liked it before when it was more of a mystical kind of energy sort of thing. And then they tried to tap, you know, shoehorn science into it. It just like, you know, just blows apart. So that's why they say, you know, suspension of disbelief. Don't worry about any quote unquote science behind it all, because if you want to do that, just think of it this: they are so technologically advanced from us. It almost seems like magic. So, and I think Osmanoff put that in one of his.
Right. Well, like thinking about Ben Kenobi as this crazy old desert wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome idea. Like,
there you
it
go.
changed the whole complexion of things, as opposed to that smooth, cool guy running around with Anakin. You know, flying and jumping in ships and doing this and that and saving the day.
Right.
But like to me, with Ben, the crazy old wizard, that made a perfect NPC.
Right.
You know, you don't know who this guy is. You don't know what this guy had going on. You don't know. But then again, that fell into the trap of pretty much everything I despised about the Star Wars game, of using canon characters in your game, because no DM, no guy running the game ever did it right. And that's my own personal opinion and my own personal experiences.
Yeah,
they never did that right, because now you became the Jar Jar of the show.
Because all those
nothing
characters
to do
were
while
like,
you watched NPCs fight NPCs, and you watched masturbation of these things happen.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the whole Mary Sue character, you know, trap that a GM can fall into with a game like Star Wars or Star Trek. Heck, you can fall into it with D&D Forgotten Realms. Like, all of a sudden Elminster shows up, and you just sit back and go, okay.
Right, what are you going to do?
Great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Tiamat. Oh, look, Elminster. Oh, look, Venger. Oh, look, Warduke. That's right, I pulled out Venger.
Yeah.
And you start taking that stuff out.
Anyway.
And you sit there. You're stuck watching a show or a movie instead of role-playing the game.
Right. And I think that was part of it on the original game, because they didn't have a whole lot of material to go on. That's probably how a lot of games went. But later on, as the game evolved and there was more material, it expanded it a little more. But they also go into having just to relax and have fun. I think that kind of goes into the suspension of disbelief thing.
Yeah.
Well, I thought
Beyond.
let's sidetrack here for a minute and have a little Star Wars discussion here, since we're talking Star Wars, and this is what people want to hear instead of just sticking to a little script here.
Okay.
Ben Kenobi. Okay, let's talk about him versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay. Now, it seems like that they have two different types of characters here. As Ben Kenobi, what happened to his memory?
2 words: plot hole.
Yeah, plot hole. Why doesn't he ever remember owning any droids or working with droids, but yet he spends all that time with Anakin and R2, and I don't remember owning any droids?
Well, that all depends on a certain point of view.
Well, not for nothing. There wasn't too much old Ben can do out there.
Right.
Well,
So Ben found these plant growth that was out on Tatooine. So his memory's a little shot.
Right. He was smoking the local vegetarian shit.
Just like, Uncle Ben, Aunt Maru, they
how about maybe why don't
wasn't
they
a water for him.
They could probably explore a whole Obi-Wan Kenobi thing when he went to go learn from Liam Neeson how to, become like Batman or something.
Funny that you mention that.
How to be wanted.
There's a lot of people out there, and I've seen on some forums, they would like to see an Obi-Wan Kenobi an anthology film.
Why?
About
Why? Why not? I would like to see it as what's his name? Who was playing the character? I can't think of his name.
I know what you're talking about, but during that, with that actor,
I wouldn't mind.
Who, Alec Guinness?
Not Alec Guinness. We'd have to dig up his corpse.
I was to say, isn't he dead?
That's what I'm saying. Alec Guinness, he's not much of a fighter these days.
No.
Are you talking about Ewan McGregor?
Yes. Thank
Ewan
you.
McGregor.
You maybe explore what happened to him when he went to go seek out teaching, and maybe the troubles he went through, and maybe can fix the plot hole. What happened to his memory?
Yeah, that's true. And Owen and Beru's.
They had a mind wiped when they got him.
Yeah, that was one of the things that got me about Owen and Beru in the second film. Was like, wait a minute, you don't remember having R2 or C-3PO around? Really?
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Nope.
Yeah, apparently everybody got amnesia.
Well, Owen and Beru, they suffered the same problem as Ben, because remember in the movie they got baked.
Well, yeah.
Can't say
I
that
was just thinking of the
not too soon for that one.
That Robot Chicken episode that they did on that. You see that when they spoofed that?
They've done like 180 of them.
Oh my god! When Anakin comes back with his mom's body and everything, and they're whispering amongst themselves, they're going, "I guess you're now little orphan Annie." What? My mother's here dead. Oh, too soon? Jeez. Oh my god. Yeah, that's the whole plot holes with the prequels. I know.
But there shouldn't really have been plot holes, because remember, George Lucas wrote those.
I
He
know.
wrote those all together at one time. Remember?
I know.
Remember when he said that?
Isn't that weird? But the kind of mentioned the prequels. I did find out about a version of the prequels that somebody did. They're called the non-cheese versions. You can find them on YouTube.
Well, I was thinking about before the movie comes out, watching the machete version of
Machete cut, yeah.
the machete order. Or whatever
The
it's
machete cut. Oh no.
called. Yeah. Of the
Um,
Yeah,
movie.
Dick Trios in all of them.
Oh god. But there's a no cheese or a non-cheese version of the prequels that somebody that did was fan made, and they're actually very good.
Didn't like
I watched the
Didn't-
first two, and I'm getting into the third one before we started today, and I'm pretty impressed.
didn't one
They're
of the
pretty
actors,
good cut.
some actor take like the first?
I called, actually, Vince, I know what you're going to bring up.
Yeah.
I called Topher Grace.
It was Topher. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You called. him.
I called his place,
Yeah.
and I asked for a copy of that movie.
Yeah.
Well, he hung up because I don't know him. He was the one who did that, yes. And like a handful of Hollywood people got to see the Topher Grace cut. That dude spent a long time making, and it's like supposed to be the definitive version of all of them.
Really?
Wait, he took
Oh,
the first three and chopped it into one long 2.5
he,
hour movie.
he sat and he edited and he re-edited and he fixed the movie from what I've heard. I've read on the internet.
Well, he fixed all three movies and made it into one. So
Made it into one. I think it was like a 6-hour movie.
No, I
Is
think
this
it was
the
like
one that's
3 or
called
4.
The Fall of the Republic?
I don't know what it was named. I just know he chopped the
It's
movies
like
up.
very long. It's
Cut
like
out
3
Jar Jar.
something hours or something like that.
Cut out the Jar Jar crap. Cut out the
Yeah.
boring crap.
Well, the one fellow who did this non-cheese version, like for example with Jar Jar and some of the other alien creatures, he cut out all the cheesy accents and put subtitles to their alien language, which works to me
Yeah, which
a
would make it
lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Because Jar Jar doesn't sound like such a
big
asshat
retard.
anymore.
Big retard.
Like Elmo.
Yeah. So
Misha not gonna like that.
ugh. We all roll our
Like seriously, I really do not know a more universally hated character.
Ugh.
Ewoks.
Like, you know what?
Ewoks are tolerable.
Yeah, not for nothing. When I was a kid and Ewoks were on ABC, they'd have an Ewok special. I watched it because you know
Oh,
what?
hell yeah, I
Ewoks
did
were
too.
fine.
Hell yeah, I
Ewoks
did.
were okay with me back when
Dude.
I was a kid.
Dude,
no
I
problem.
hated Ewoks. I wanted to punt them every time I saw them.
I have a theory about the Ewoks.
That they're your illegitimate children?
No, that they're actually dark side force users.
And the show just ended.
Good night, everybody.
You
night.
want to hear the theory?
Yes, Nick, I do want to hear this theory.
I'm
All right.
burning to know.
Well, Emperor Palpatine, being a Jedi, being a Sith, looking for also more power, also from the dark side, builds his Death Star on Endor.
Okay.
Endor, Ewoks, okay. What do we know about the Ewoks? They're freaking cannibals. What happened to all those troops? They're banging on their helmets and everything. They wanted to roast Han and Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're freaking cannibals, man. They eat other intelligent
Ewoks.
creatures.
Well, that's not cannibal.
So maybe, just maybe, they're manifestations of the dark side of the Force. And what a better way to disguise a manifestation
hold
of the
on,
dark
hold
side
on.
than under it as a teddy bear.
Now, if you were to tell me that they're not cannibals, they are just meat eaters.
Yeah, they eat other intelligent beings.
That's fine. That's fine. However, if at this point you were to tell, they were to use some maybe Dathomir witch problems going on there, that sort of magic, dark
Yeah.
side.
There you go.
You got Chief what's his name and Wicket,
Chief Chirpa?
Chief Chirpa. And there's a little jagoffs running around with stone spears. They can get involved in some scary stuff. I admit that.
Yeah.
Although I will say that the Emperor probably had zero knowledge of the Ewoks.
He's probably
I-
said, let's build around the forest moon of
Yeah.
Endor. What are teddy bears?
Yeah,
Little did he realize.
he was cuddled with them.
Well, you know what? It's no far-fetched than people saying that Jar Jar Binks is actually a Sith Lord. I think
True.
we've seen that one out there.
Although he did actually get everything underway, much in the way Gilligan did.
So
On every
Gilligan's
show.
an evil's genius.
Yeah, every show was a goof that caused something else to happen, and that's exactly what happened with this crap.
Yeah.
And they could have just left it all alone. Didn't need it.
I know.
I'm not gonna. You know what? No.
Yeah.
This is a time of celebration. The new movie's coming out.
Yes.
We're not gonna lament over the
No,
three
we're
things
not.
and everything we didn't like about the other stuff, because that's
So
not what we
awesome.
do here. We talk about nothing but positivity here.
Yeah, this isn't
As long
the
as we don't
grievances
talk about-
podcast.
as long as we don't talk about the holiday special.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Sal,
Anyway, moving on.
this isn't the grievances podcast, Sal, right? I mean,
So, they really in the Game Master section, they just expand more on what was in the player section, and particularly about attributes of skills. They talk more in detail on the combat stuff, how that's done. They get more specifics on wounds and healing, even about like med packs, back to tanks, how they work. They talk about starships and space travel, how in that section, it's really basic. Just some of the stuff out of the movie episode 4, the descriptions of the ships and those, how hyperdrives work, hyperdrive backups work, astrogation rules, how all that ties in, and a pretty descriptive section on starship combat. Not complicated, but pretty descriptive of how everything works. And then they expand more on the Force in the GM section, just about how you could get dark side points by doing evil acts like aggression, killing, and fear, leading to the dark side,
Yeah.
And they expand more on the idea of the Jedi, how you need to find a master, and more about the Jedi Code and what the Jedi Code is. And they have all the rules for the different Force skills and how they work. And that's... then they move on how you can have other characters like aliens, playing droids, using other templates to how you could fit an alien type creature into some of the existing templates. And then into running adventures, how you prep for a game, how the PCs are connected to each other, how you actually get into the game. They actually bring up like getting in the middle of the action in media res. You might be in the middle of action. It's very cinematic in its approach to running the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of falls back to where they talk about earlier when you run a game, don't worry about the science about it. Don't dwell on the details. Just kind of go with it. They try to give to the GM an idea how you can run a fun, exciting, and epic game of Star Wars. They even talk about like maybe creating scripts to read for some of the characters. I think that's kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
I kind of like having the spontaneity of it all.
Again, this is their first inception. This
Right.
is their big first foray out. They didn't really get cinematic until much later.
Right.
When they went D20, which you liked or you didn't, who cares?
Right.
It was just that's when you started getting into that cinematic sweeping landscape. Back in D6, it was still to me, it felt confined. Looking back,
Yeah.
when we played, I had no idea, and I didn't have this sort of grand scheme of things. But looking
Right.
back, it seemed very confined because if you bit off too much, you got stuck with a dead game.
Right. And you're absolutely right. Because the number of templates, if you read in the back of the book, there's like 24 of them. Most of them are just, taken out right out of the movies. There's not a whole lot of originality in them, except maybe the Quixotic Jedi, which I get a real kick out of. But like the whole scripts to read. But they also talk about, from any other role-playing game that you might have, to establish the atmosphere of the game, using props and making your own adventure versus maybe having a pre-published one. I think now, in retrospect, we have a lot more available as far as like creating the atmosphere of the game, the props. I mean, come on. The atmosphere of the game, you can go right on StarWars.com right now and you make a soundboard of blasters, the Millennium Falcon landing, going into hyperspace, all of that. You want to talk establishing atmosphere. You can do that way easier now than you could do back in 87.
Do you think it'd be ironic to have a ship with hyperdrive named Ridlin?
That would be awesome. Now I think of it, that would be damn funny, actually. This is the cruise ship Ritalin. What? Hello? Yes?
Got hyperdrive. Hello? Anybody get it? Anyone?
Yes, huh? Something shiny. Look.
You can't get aboard the ship unless you say it. Unless you get the joke.
There you go. And I think that's pretty much it in the GM section.
Yeah.
They have a sample adventure called Rebel Breakout.
Which they've used in every game edition going forward.
It's like the Star Wars D6 role-playing games version of the Haunted House game adventure out of Call of Cthulhu. Everybody's used it.
I mean, they even
Everybody.
used this in WotC used this too when they did their books.
Mhm. Well, and you know what? And it works. It's a good introduction to the game. So hey, if it
The only one that hasn't used it is Fantasy Flight Games. They made up their own.
yeah.
They stopped using it finally after all these years.
Well, I guess going to my final impressions of the whole thing, I think for myself it's a must-have for any old school gamer. It's easy to learn and play. I love the color plates in the book. Like I said before, like that whole join the Imperial Navy sort of thing. I love that. And as I said at the very beginning, I'm not sure, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty positive this is really a first where you see the Star Wars galaxy and the expansion of it, real first in-depth look of it all, you know? So that was my impressions of the whole thing. What about you, Vince? And then we'll get on to Sal. What are your impressions of the game, or at least the book itself, the original rule book?
The original rule book was boring. I'm sorry.
Really?
I thought it was a boring read, except for the middle. That part was awesome. I liked that little flavor. The rest of it, I was just like, I don't know, thinking about someone like, this is Star Wars, this is the best thing in the world. You know, I was just like,
Maybe I'm just a fan.
Dreamer read Star Wars.
Yes. Shut up, Sal. It just, I love Star Wars. I mean, I love certain things about Star Wars, but probably not as a hardcore fan as you are, Nick, of course. I mean, I don't sit there dreaming about being in Star Wars, so sorry.
You don't?
No, I don't.
I guess I'm the only one.
When I was growing up, I liked Star Wars to a certain point. I mean, loved the dark side and all that other crap, but I was a Star Trek fan growing up, so sorry.
I wanted to hang out with Han Solo and blow stuff up.
Whoa, it's not that kind of show.
He said
I said stuff.
Oh, no, I thought you meant Han Solo. Never mind.
Whoa!
Hey.
What?
Now, to be honest, I could not stand Luke Skywalker. I could not stand Han Solo.
Nick, just be careful because Han does shoot first.
Yes, he does. You very bad man.
Sal, go back to sleep, please.
Sorry.
No, the book
I'll
is
go back to my back to tank.
The book is a good book to read, to learn, and to play Star Wars. But I would say if you want to play Star Wars, pick up one of the later editions of this other role playing game, like the one that just came out, the re-up.
Yes, that's the one I have.
The one you have, the re-up. I have the re-up too. I printed it out. It is a nice book. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and what Vince is mentioning, and you can find it on d6holocron.com, and we're going to have that in the show notes. Is a great fan-driven website on everything associated with the D6 game, and they have on their website every single published work on the D6 role-playing game that you can download as a PDF. Everything from the original book that came out in 87 with it. There's all the supplements, the galaxy guides, all the adventures, and most of the adventures actually they're average. There's a couple out there that I thought were very good, but they have everything that you want. Amazing, including what Vince was talking about, and I did too, the revised, expanded, and updated, or the re-up rules.
I mean, I had a lot of fun playing the Star Wars games, but I never used any of the canon stuff. It was always like, you're on this planet doing this by yourself. Yeah. I didn't do like how Sal said earlier before the show, you get stuck with all the canon stuff and all the boring stuff, and everything gets shoehorned in, and you're kind of like, I'm just reliving what I saw in your movies. Just blows. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so let's go like what Sal would say then. Like that was kind of like what you're saying. You can get in that whole Mary Sue NPC trap like you were talking about.
Yep.
So what are your impressions, Sal?
Yes,
please do tell us.
Okay, and this is the truth, God's honest truth. When I was younger, when we got this, I was so psyched for this. Mm-hmm. This was amazing to see.
Yeah, and I thought everybody was.
Yeah, and we snatched off the shelf and we got home to check this out. And oh man, the friend's gonna run it, and we were so psyched. We're coming up with characters. We had all these ideas we were gonna do, and you went through the what has become a cliche of every Star Wars group for D6. Right. Mm-hmm. You got the one Jedi who's either in hiding, or you had the smuggler. And that's what anybody ever wanted to play.
Mhm.
Even the Quixotic Jedi, you know, it's a great concept, but it was more of a joke, and everybody wanted to be a badass.
Yeah.
So nobody wanted the Joker character,
Right.
unless he was a smuggler, because then you're Han Solo, and who didn't want to be Han Solo?
Me.
So,
No, you're just different.
yeah, but yeah, So like I said, when I saw this book, when my friend had the book, oh my god, it was the most amazing thing ever.
Right.
Because it was the first of its kind. It was
Mhm.
new, and we loved it. And we played a long time. We played a long time game. We made characters that, in our group, if I were to go meet these people again and go, oh, remember this? And we'd all laugh about it and talk about it. And when we were going to do the show, like I said, I had started thinking about back then, but I'm with my now brain. And I
Yeah.
look back, and I'm like, I would probably never play it again. Like, it's fun, but
It feels limited.
it feels supremely limited. Almost, and ready, hang on, Vince,
Yeah.
earmuffs.
Okay.
I feel the same way about the Marvel game. It wound up to me, like back when we played it, it was so amazing, and I loved it, and I loved it, and I loved it. But it seems limited because unless you're going to start, yanking guys out from canon,
Right.
now you're stuck in a little box with, the tag Star Wars, or now, the tag Marvel superheroes, or the tag any game you want to tag right now, any licensed game.
I've never had these problems you speak of.
Yeah.
Sal.
See, I didn't either.
Like I said,
I think
I
it
told
all
you guys,
depends. Yeah.
I can't speak for everybody, but this is my personal
Right.
life experiences that I've just always found to be just dull, because all we're doing is we're playing comic books, or we're playing this part, or we're playing, and just
So what
Yeah,
was,
not
because
role
you
playing.
feel like that your characters don't mean anything because
yeah,
They're-
you might as well be playing NPCs. You might
Yeah.
as well give me a handout.
yeah, you feel like you're just in the background from the main stage characters. And
Yeah.
I said this before, you could fall into that thing with Forgotten Realms, man. I've seen it. I've seen it.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, really? Drizzt just shows up in our game?
Right.
It's gonna be like, no, I'm gonna kill him. So,
You get a DM who's an uber fanboy, and there it goes. Then now the game is derailed into what this dude wanted to see. He
Yeah.
wanted to watch Dritz fight, this dude. So here, this is what's going to happen. He wants Dritz to come spank this other guy because, he talked trash about Dark Elves. So he showed up and Dritz smacked him down. Like, it's an ego stroke for the DM, or whatever he wants to, whatever he's trying to get across is what he's doing.
right. So
And it can happen with any game, but I feel it's more prevalent with a Star Wars game or the Marvel game, where all you
Star
have
Trek
is
or
heroes.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Anything
it's
with an
a brand
established
that you're
group of heroes.
associated. Yeah, because you have a brand associated with a group of known characters.
so
Right.
wait.
So, but I posed this, I guess, challenge to you then. I would check out the revised, expanded, updated rules, and also check out what they have on D6 Holocron, and see how much they've expanded on everything. I think you're right. In the early versions of the game, it's so easily to get shoehorned in that whole, everybody's playing those type of characters, and it doesn't feel like they can really break out of that. And I think what the current rules now that they have, you can get beyond that. You could probably, I know you could play a campaign that's like based, where you're all playing Sith.
Yeah.
Back to the time of the Sith Wars, or you could play, something even far ahead in the New Republic, and not have anything associated with those main line canon characters. So, I would look into that.
But again, if you do, okay, now here's another question.
Yes.
If you're going to do that, you're going to play 4 Aqualoids, who are, they all pilot a ship. This amazing ship that they have, they've traveled, it's in the New Republic. Everything is squeaky and perfect and clean, and there's no evil empire, and there's no any of that shenanigans. But you do have smugglers, and you got bad guys, and you got Hutts and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yeah,
bother calling it Star Wars?
well, because there are some people who enjoy just playing in that sort of, I guess, sandbox.
Yeah, we call them jerks.
Ah,
No, I'm kidding. But like I said, at that point, if you were to come to me and say you want to play a Star Wars game, I'd have to go. Oh, well, who's running it? And then okay, I'll give this new guy a try if I don't know him. But if you were to come up to me and tell me, "Oh man, we got this game. We're gonna play, Star Adventures," and I'm like, "Oh, cool," and it's the Star Wars game, I'd be like, "Oh, this is a lot like the Star Wars game, but it's much better because it's called Star Adventures and not have to do with Star Wars."
well,
So just
You know
don't
what I mean?
the
Like,
la-
it's a
you don't
simple
like the
thing.
labeling. You just don't like the labeling. That's all.
You know what, Vince? Don't judge me.
I am judging you. I'm judging you. You do not like labeling.
I don't like labeling. I'm anti-labeler.
Sal is very politically
he goes
correct.
down the canned vegetable
And
aisle,
I
rips
rip
off
those,
all the
yeah,
labels.
I take all those labels off those damn
Canned
cans. Those
peas,
cans deserve to
beans,
be exactly.
corn.
So, what would be a great Star Wars adventure for you, Sal? Describe your one so we can understand. What would be a good Star Wars
again,
adventure?
To me, I really don't know.
So, if I was running a game for you and we were playing, and for example, your characters got stuck because some stormtroopers decide to surround you, and then, for example, some minor character that you may have heard of shows up and saves the day, but says, "All right, I'm out of here." That would be shitty for you.
Like if you were to, what's his name, Dak? What's his name? Nick, you probably know it.
From Empire Strikes Back.
Dak Rendar or something like that.
Yeah, his tail gunner in the Snowspeeder
Right.
Battle of Hoth. Yeah,
So Dak Rendar shows up
Mm-hmm.
and he saves us.
Yeah,
Right.
but then
And
he leaves.
I would pop for that. It'd be funny because it's Dak Rendar or
because we know
Porky.
he's gonna die anyway.
Yeah, what
Right.
happens? You're in your
Or
spaceship
Porkins.
and Porkins shows
to me,
up.
that's goofy, and it's like, okay, that was a little ha-ha for the
Right.
fanboys in the group, and the DM threw it in for whatever reason. Okay, great.
Okay, well, how about this for
It
a
didn't
Star
affect
Wars?
the game. It didn't choke up 90% of the night.
Well, how would you feel about this? What if you were like proposed a game and say, okay, we're gonna do a Star Wars game, but we're all gonna be playing part of the Empire. We're gonna play as an Imperial.
Stormtrooper
No, not necessarily.
or Imperial agents. Let's call them
Maybe
agents.
Imperial agents. Maybe someone's
Okay.
playing a stormtrooper. Maybe someone is part of Imperial intelligence.
Right.
Maybe you have someone who is an Imperial Navy commander.
So now
something
we're
like-
going to run around and we're going to go do our missions, and we're going to go maybe do some espionage.
Yeah, a
Figure
little
out
more
some codes.
espionage, maybe a little more backstabbing involved.
Yeah, that'll be great. We'll go play Traveler.
Now,
So if we're playing Marvel Superhero, Sal, which is another game you mentioned, like
so
that.
you want it
Yeah.
to be like Star Wars, but not like Star Wars. I'm
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah, let me narrow this down. Shh, hold on a second. We're playing Marvel Superheroes, or we're playing DC Heroes
Right.
from the '80s, and we spend I spend a 10-minute scene because your character's like going off the rails a little bit, and I'm just like, Batman shows up in the shadows, and he's just like, kid, I've been watching you, and you seem to be going a little off the hilter there, so I just want to let you know. And you have a role-playing exchange with him. It's kind of cool, whatever. And all of a sudden, he just,
Yes.
boom, he's gone. And that's
Right.
the end of Batman. You kind of have, your character knows in the back of his head, whoa, Batman's watching me.
Yeah.
We may see him
Okay.
again. So you're going to walk away from that night and be like, no, this is just labeled as GC.
No.
And
No, I'm not. And again, you know what this really has to do with the DM. If
Right.
if you run the rest of the game, we went as our superheroes and we did whatever we did,
yeah.
or who was the vigilante who did whatever, and we played our game, I'd be like, that was cool. I had fun. Okay.
Right.
And you threw Batman in because I shot someone or anything like that, and Batman showed up and gave me a talking to. I'd be like, oh, that was kind of cool. Batman showed up. Now I know. That's just kind of to me, that's a DM tool. Great, you used it well.
Right.
You used it sparingly. Terrific.
Right.
So,
So,
and
but,
I think,
all right, so
and I
same
like I
scene-
said,
same scene. Let's do the same scenario
depends
again.
on the DM.
So same scenario again. You do that. You're off the hill. The Batman shows up and he's like, "All right, kid, you did this wrong. So I'm gonna hang around with you for the rest of the adventure." Well, he doesn't say adventure.
I'm out.
Yeah,
This
that's
form
what
is-
that's what you're
Okay.
talking about, right? Something
I
like
get-
that.
And that's what I was kind of alluding to. The whole, what is known as the Mary Sue NPC shows up and takes over the whole freaking game.
Unless, wait, Vince,
Mm-hmm.
were we playing Star Wars?
Oh, Jesus.
Yes, we were playing Star Wars and
Because
Batman
if
showed
Batman
up.
showed up at Star Wars, I saw what happened with him and Vader. That was
Yeah,
pretty.
I saw that fan film too.
Yes,
But no, but like, for example,
God.
like to me,
Batman.
if
showed up.
we're playing a Star Wars game, and Luke shows up and we have to help Luke out. Every other character in that game is going to rely on Luke for everything.
Well, yeah, of course.
But then again, if the GM is really good, like you said, Luke is going to you guys to help him out. Maybe there's
Right.
something he can't achieve on his own. He needs
Right.
you
He
guys.
can't get to this place without us. Terrific.
Right.
But anything that comes up between point A and point E, Luke can handle because he's Luke
Maybe.
freaking Skywalker.
Maybe.
Oh, these
He's
guys
not-
are here. Hey, use your mind trick. Hey, these guys are here. Hey, pull out your lightsaber.
maybe.
Hey, these guys
Well,
are here.
Maybe, because you know what? Hey, you can look up Luke Skywalker's stats, and he's got ability rolls he needs to do too. So that's one of the things. He might not succeed at something.
Well, as a good GM, you should know to use those characters sparingly. One
Sparing.
little cameo. Don't base an entire adventure around Luke Skywalker and freaking
Right.
milking his cows along the way while he sits there and kills the entire galaxy. So,
Right.
Right. That's like the cameos we were talking about in the new MST3K show. Use them.
Oh yeah. even though if Jack Black showed up, it still wouldn't be funny.
But we do know that Mark Hamill's going to be in it.
But that's exactly. I think that is it. And I let me sum that all up. And just say, if you're a DM, don't be lazy. Don't do
Right.
that. And that's the trick. And that's what gamers need to steer away from. They need to steer away from doing cliched things, because then I guarantee you they are the first ones to complain when something cliched pops up and they go, "Oh, that sucked because it was cliched."
Right.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Like, and I
I'm-
feel like I'm not. I've demonized the old D6 Star Wars because my experiences when I had them, we had fun, But now looking back, I'm like, that was terrible.
But you know what, Sal, I'm totally on board with you like that. And I think you can fall into that trap
Yeah.
of that because of the name that's associated with a game like Star Wars
Exactly.
or the Star Trek role-playing game or Marvel superheroes or DC. It'll be really easy for a referee game master to fall into that trap of, oh man, I can introduce later on Vader and maybe they get captured and then there's Tarkin there. He's not dead
Right.
yet. You gotta
Right.
look at his crazy looking face because it looks like his skull's gonna pop out of his skin. And then you got Palpatine, and then maybe they'll run into Han Solo and Chewbacca. And see, then it becomes cliche, and then the player character's along for a ride.
Right.
So as a good DM, like you said, a good DM will use that stuff sparingly, maybe not even in the adventure itself, but maybe just in the background that somehow affects
Well-
what's going on in your game.
Well, I learned as a DM because of the dumb players and annoying players that I've had, never mess with any canon characters because you never know when those characters will be like, Luke Skywalker shows up and you're chatting with him, your friend's like, I take out my lightsaber and I stab him right in the heart. It's just like,
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, that's why, yeah.
because you
You
know
could
those
have that
people,
going.
you just have that one player that's just like, I'm bored, so I'm going to kill everything,
Yeah.
That's the number one reason people go to the dark side if you're playing a Jedi, and
Yes, I
the
know.
rest
Kill
of the
Skywalker.
right,
There
and
you
the
go.
rest of your group isn't. If the rest of your group is playing smugglers and you're playing the only Jedi, chances are by the end of that game session you're gonna be dark side because you're gonna get bored.
You're going
Because
to be damn close.
yeah, you gotta sit there and play a paladin basically,
Yeah.
and the rest of this party is being a bunch of scrub nuts and running around the place, hijacking ships, taking this, taking that.
Yep.
And the DM's, and while the guy's running the game, he's going to kind of ignore the Jedi guy because he has to handle all these crazy people with thermal detonators.
Yeah.
So now the quickest way to send that guy over the edge to the dark side is ignore him, because now the only way he's going to get your attention, I'm going to shoot this guy. Okay, well, I'm going to force choke this guy over here. Like, so now the game has totally gone off the rails.
Yeah.
And I'm again talking from experience. This is how
Yeah.
I've always ever seen it. And even longtime players who know how to role play, they get bored. So what do? You start looking for stuff to do. And if eventually, it just eventually winds up. All roads lead to force choking somebody, and then that's a negative.
And that's just bad for everybody.
Yeah. Well, according to the rule book, force choking is bad.
Yes, it is.
So,
and even Luke did it.
Right, but it's bad.
Yeah,
so
right.
Force choking is all roads lead to it.
And to kind of close up on the resources. So we had, like I said, D6 Holocron, which is a great resource. And I highly recommend everybody not just looking for the original rules, but look for those re-up rules.
Yeah.
They're in there. They're excellent. Rancorpit.com. Nice. Amazing forums. Real good place to go to. They have great resource for campaign ideas. Another one that not necessarily dealing with role-playing, but they have some gaming stuff in there, but everything Star Wars, theforce.net.
Mm-hmm.
Great place to go to. About the movies, the canon material, some really good stuff, and some very interesting conversations between, all of the people who like the original trilogy versus the prequel trilogy. The whole flame wars that happened with that. That's real fun to watch. Get some popcorn. And then, of course, StarWars.com. For all your Star Wars needs. So that's pretty much, I guess, the basic rule book in a nutshell, and our opinions and ideas about it. So that's my take on things, and I think that's how you have it. And may the Force be with you always.
Yes, and enjoy the movie as it be out in a few days.
I can't wait.
And remember, everyone, peace is a lie. Or shall set you free. Those are the two Sith rules I remember.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And just because to end the show, peace, love, and gaming.
The Roll for Initiative podcast is a production of Wild Games Productions in association with D20Radio.com. You can visit us at rfipodcast.com or contact us on our forums at osrgaming.org or even by calling us at 570-865-4210. This podcast is produced for entertainment purposes only. All other uses are prohibited. And remember, if your magic missile spell doesn't automatically hit, you're playing the wrong edition. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative.